Hi guys, welcome back to the Craft Scraps. I am Lauren and today we're going to be making a vinyl stencil. A vinyl stencil was the sole purpose I originally bought my Cricut, and about after, I don't know, a couple days on YouTube trying to figure it out, I finally figured it out, and once I got it down, it looks so much harder than it actually is, and so I hope this tutorial is helpful for you. Make sure you guys give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. It really does help support my channel. All you're going to need today is some non-permanent vinyl, or I'm going to use Mask stencil film, so you can use that too if you have it, but any kind of non-permanent vinyl will do the trick. All you're going to need is that, some acrylic paint, and some paintbrushes, and that is really it. So let's get started. Alright, so we are going to make a stencil out of this text here. So this is for a friend. They're going to give it as a wedding gift. So we're going to put this on a wooden box that she's going to make as like a gift box. So basically all I did here was very simple. I just made a text box. So you come over here and make your text box, put in your, oh, this is the different font. So the font that I use for the text is Wisdom Script, and then I had Sugar Script up because I didn't like the number 2 that the Wisdom Script came with, so I changed out the 2, but you can't even tell. So Mr. and, oops, Mrs. Lewis, and then August 8, 2020. So that's when they're eloping. So that's when they're getting married. And now what I want to do is, because all of this script, none of it is touching, so I'm going to come over here to ungroup. And now all of this is separated. So now I can move the letters how I want. So I'm going to just move the letters over so they're just overlapping. So I'll zoom in so you could see. So I'm just going to drag this there. The period back there. Move the E over. So now it's going to look like an actual script font. And people like to come for me because I don't use this the letter spacing tool up here, and I prefer to manually move them. So if you would like to not do this manually, you can come up here and use the letter spacing when it's all still welded together if you'd like to, but I just think I can control like my spacing more over here, or over like this. All right, so that is how we made our text. So I'm going to now select all of this. I'm going to do this line by line because then I can like play with it how I want to put it on the box. And so I'm going to select all my text, and I'm going to come over here and click weld. So now it's all welded together. Now you'll notice this R, the little bubble got filled in because I put the letters too close together. So the thing is, if you save this and you exit out, you can't undo. So you have to, if you have to catch these things before you save and like exit out, because all I have to do is hit undo and just space it out a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm just going to come here and weld. So now it's good to go. So I'm going to do the same thing down here for August, and we are good. All right, so that's how we made our text. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it. I have the one I like up here. So now is where we have to make our stencil. So first, I always forget. So I'm measuring my box. So it's 4 inches tall and about 10 inches wide. So, and I want to kind of offset the text. I don't want to put it in the center. I want to, where do I want to put this? Maybe on this side. So the side is 10 inches long. So I think I want the text to be about 2.5 inches high and 5 inches long. I think, let's see how that looks. Okay, sorry. So after all that, I had to consult with the person that is purchasing it, and we came up with the sizing and how we're going to put it on the box, which I'll show you in just a second. So going back to the stencil, so this is the text we want to make the stencil. So first step is I'm going to come over here and make a square, and I'm going to size the square to go over my text, and I'm going to send it to the back so you could see what we're doing. So this is my text, and I'll just make a duplicate one for this text down here. And I can make this box a little bit smaller. So all you have to do to make the stencil is you're just going to drag your mouse and select both the box and the text, and you'll see your slice button light up down here. So once it lights up, all you have to do is hit slice, and then you're just going to drag away the layers that it sliced out, and you're left with your stencil. So a couple of things is, one, you can only slice one thing at a time. So if I were to try and slice both stencils at the same time, it wouldn't work. You could see if I try to even just select this down here and something else, the slice button does not light up. So you want to make sure that your text is welded, because it's going to treat it as one piece of text. Whereas if you had all of these different words that weren't welded together, your slice button wouldn't light up. So we're going to do that same thing down here. Select and slice and move away our layers. So we can delete these. We don't need them anymore, and we're basically left with our stencil. So now, well, first we'll save our project. Oops. And now we can come over here and hit make it. And so these are our 2 stencils, and I know it looks small, but when you see how we're going to put them on the box, I think it'll look really nice and like dainty. So we're going to hit continue. It'll find our machine for us. Okay, and so we are going to cut this out of, I don't know if I have any blue stencil vinyl, so I might just use regular Cricut non-permanent vinyl, which you can use in lieu of stencil. Okay, so I have my stencil vinyl on the mat. I ended up finding some stencil film. So this is the Oramask 813 stencil film. So disclaimer with this is, when I first started working with this years ago, I hated it. I thought it was like bubbling and it would cut and everything would be all bubbled and looking all crazy, and I thought it was ruined. Well, it's not ruined. So even if yours is bubbled like this, you're still fine. You could still use it. It's still good to go. You could just, it will still cut just the same. So all is not lost like I thought it was. I wasted so much freaking money. It was a joke. This is the paint I'm going to be using. So this is Artist Loft, just from Michaels. This is just their level 1 paint. This is the box I'm going to be painting. So as you can see, it's just a square, so you can see it a little bit better. Square box that I got. Let's see, what else do you need to know? I will seal this with something, but I think my sealer is down in our storage, so I'll link it for you guys. I think I'm going to seal it with an outdoor sealer in case they want to use it for something outdoor, so the paint will just stay. I'll link it below, but it's like Hellsman or something. It's a green can. I'll link it so you guys can see. I think that is all that I need to tell you guys before we get this started. So, can move everything out of the way. Move my machine. Alright, and our light is blinking. I don't know if you can see that it's blinking or not, but it's blinking, so we can load our mat. And we're going to cut. Alright, so I'm left with both of my stencils here. So I'm going to start with the Mr. and Mrs. one. So I'm going to start weeding it, which all it means is I'm going to use this tool. This is like my weeding tool. It's like a little pick. And I'm going to pick out the middles of the letters because I want to be left with the negative space so we can paint it and use it as a stencil. And if you're doing delicate letters or delicate writing like this, you just have to be careful. You don't want to rip it. And be sure that you don't lose the middles of your letters, like this R, for example. The little like bubble, where it like bubbles right here. I don't want to lose that. Okay, so we have Mr. and Mrs. Lewis here. So there were little like middles in these S's and they were so freaking small. I just gave up on them. So I'm just gonna try and make my own little middles of them with like a toothpick or something because they were so freaking tiny. It was ridiculous. But honestly, either way, I think it will look fine. Okay, so now we have the date. So again, I'm just going to start by weeding the negative space away. All right, so I'm gonna transfer these to my box. So I'm gonna put this one here, and then I'll put the date over here. So I'm gonna use this transfer tape that Auntie Tay sent to me. It's the best Expressions vinyl transfer tape ever. I'll link it below. I have a full video review on it. It's my favorite, and I just have the best luck with it. So I'm just gonna rip off a piece, and I like it because it has no backing to it, so I don't have to like spend the time, even though it's not that much time, like taking the backing off of it. So I'm just going to put it on my date here. Use my scraping tool. All right, and then I'm just gonna peel the backing of the stencil vinyl off. Again, just making sure, being careful we don't lose any of our middles of our letters. All right, so now I'm just going to transfer it. All right, so put it right there. I'm just gonna press it down. Use my scraping tool to really get it down on there. And I'm gonna peel off the transfer tape. So we have our date right there, good to go. So now I'm gonna do the exact same thing. And I'm just gonna get one more piece of transfer tape. I would normally use that one over again, but it's not long enough. All right, so I'm just gonna do the same thing with this. Peel off the backing, again, making sure we don't lose any of our stencil. So what I look for is I just look at the backing just to make sure there's no blue left on it. And I'm gonna trim the bottom of this so I can see where my stencil is going. Just make sure it's straight and lined up. Alright, so now I'm just going to press it down. Alright, and I'm just going to peel off my transfer tape. Again, making sure it doesn't take any of my stencil with it. Alright, so we have our stencils on here. They're good to go, so now we can paint. Alright, so I'm just going to put some of this paint on this little scrap here. And for my brush, I'm using this sponge brush. So, only because it's the only thing I have right now. Oh, I have, wait, are these good to use? Ooh, never mind. I have these stencil brushes here. So these I just got at Home Depot. They're like made for stencils. So we'll see if this works a little bit better. So the trick with these stencils, I think the biggest issue people have usually is bleeding, obviously. So a couple of things. One, I'm not using Mod Podge. I know some people do like to use it as like a barrier, but I prefer to not use Mod Podge because when I've used Mod Podge, I've had no luck. Like the paint peels, it cracks, it gets all crazy. So I don't use Mod Podge, but I think the biggest thing is to do super light, light coats of paint multiple times, because if I go in here and I just glob on paint, it's probably going to bleed. That, and also peeling when the paint is still relatively wet, because if it dries, you're going to get that cracking. So just a couple of tips. So again, I'm just going to start with a really light coat of paint, and I'm just going to start to dab on here just to get the paint in there. And also this like dabbing is a good method too, because I'm not gonna, so I've done both in my tutorials. I've brushed on and I've also done this dabbing. So because this stencil is so delicate, I don't want to brush too much because I don't want to pull up any of the stencil, since there's so many like little curly cues and stuff. So I'm just gonna dab. Oof, that was a lot of paint there. So yes, this will take a little bit longer than, you know, going in and brushing a bunch of paint on, but I think the end result is worth it. So as I'm going over this, I'm just still being mindful of like those little details of the stencil, like the middle of the E that I've already lost. I don't even know where it went. So I'm going to do one stencil at a time because I don't want this to dry too much. So I'm going to just go back over with another coat. Whoa, way too much. Way too much. So I'm just going to keep going back till I like the coverage. And also, like, it depends how rustic you're like going for, right? So if you want it to look like super clean and sharp, you're going to want it to be like fully covered. But if you are good with a more like rustic looking stencil, then, you know, you could leave it as light as you want. Okay, so I think the coverage on that is pretty good. It's still relatively wet, so I'm gonna just start to peel, and usually this is like the moment of truth where you're like, WTF, like, did I completely screw this up? So let's see. So another thing with these stencils is the more you like mess with it and try and manipulate like how the stencil gets peeled, is when you can like smudge it or get, you know, just, so I just try to like listen to the stencil and let the stencil do what it wants and try not to get too impatient with it, even though it's really freaking difficult. So now I'm gonna go back and delicately, very delicately get these middles out, because this again is where you can really screw up. Okay. camera focused on this. So I think that turned out super pretty. It looks very dainty. It's like not too, you know, done up. Let's see if I can fix, so this R, when I pulled out the middle, it got a little messed up. So I'm just gonna take my weeding tool and just kind of like clean it up and like dig some of the paint out. And again, the more you mess with something, the more it could get worse. And honestly, your person, whoever you're giving this to, will probably not even notice. So you're kind of just better off to leave things alone. But sometimes my OCD gets the best of me. All right, so that's that. So now we'll do the exact same thing to the date. So again, gonna start with just a light coat of paint and just dab it out. Oh, I forgot the E here, the middle of the E. I just got home from work and I told Joe like, oh, like I'm just gonna do like a quick craft, and like I think it's been almost 40 minutes, so it's like never a quick craft, never. It's never just a quick craft. Comment below if you can relate. Just kidding, I love him. Today is August 5th, so I don't know when I'm gonna post this video, probably in a couple weeks, because I'm trying to like do a schedule. But today, exactly 1 month from today, we are going to get married. Super excited. Obviously COVID has like completely put a wrench in our plans, so we're having our big reception next year to celebrate like our 1 year anniversary, and then this year we're just having our intimate ceremony just with our parents and our immediate family, so it's all good. Okay, so I'm happy with the coverage here. So again, I'm gonna just peel away slowly. All right, so now I'm gonna go in and get some of this that didn't come up. Sometimes if you're working with like wood and you have to weed these little letters, sometimes you can like stab it and like dig into it, and it helps so you don't like smudge anything. So I'm just kind of like puncturing the wood and like picking it out. All right, so we have our little cute box. So I think it looks so cute. It's like super dainty, super understated. It's like perfect for a wedding, you know, a little boho-y wedding. So I think this turned out super cute. So now you guys know how to make a stencil and make a huge mess on your craft table at the same time. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Don't forget to leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you always get notifications when I post a new video. I really appreciate it, and it really helps support my channel. And with that being said, happy crafting!